time, weather.
Now for the Forge Podcast. Question for you. What's the power of your testimony if it's never shared? This is the Forge Podcast.
The Ministry of Scottsdale Bible Church.
How'd you get the nickname Chubbs? Because it's the best. Like, I remember Steve said, oh, yeah, Chubbs at our table. Like, what?
Who? So Chubbs was given to me around 6th grade, 7th grade, partly due to, the childhood obesity. But where it really stemmed from, and this is a horrible, horrible chapter of my life.
Okay.
Me and the boys were fishing one day, and I had a brand new rig, and it got pulled into the lake. So we spent the next
Another fishing story?
Another fishing story.
Or is it the same one?
No, the trout.
Old Trouty.
Trouty happened a different time. But so we're fishing. My brand new rig goes straight into the lake, like vanishes. So we're spending all this time just like dredging with treble hooks, trying to catch the fishing pole back. My buddy catches a catfish and is like, "Oh, I caught one." I'm like, "Hey, hand that thing over to me." And I held it. I'm like, "Hey, you tell your friends I'm coming for my pole." And punt kicked it back into the lake.
Oh my gosh.
And my buddy hit me with the, like, "That's pretty sick there, Chubbs." And it's like, boom, we're done.
That was it.
Yeah, that was it. So it was, so I have like two distinct timelines in my life. There's AD and BC. So it's before Chubbs and after David. And depending on where you know me, is where you're going to identify me
Sure.
with. My wife and I were actually we're at a wedding last year in Carlsbad, and a girl recognized me at the wedding.
Carlsbad is great.
Oh, it was awesome. It was
Great.
great escape.
Yeah.
But this girl recognizes me and runs up to me. She's like, "Oh my gosh, David Kurtz." And my wife like spits out her sangria, like, "Pfft, like how do you know him?" And she's like, "Oh, I've known him since 1st grade." And it's like, "Oh yeah, well then you get the pass."
Sure.
Yeah. So
Well, welcome to the Forge Podcast, man. I think you're like the biggest fan, at least the one that tells me, "Hey, man, that one was cool." Like, I'm like, it's so awesome. So,
dude, you kill it.
I just sit here and listen. Like,
No.
it's fun to hear people's stories and to be able to broadcast them. Like, I really enjoy that. But you're like my biggest fan. Like, you're the one that's like always. It's just nice to hear like that the message from some guy's testimony resonates with people. Like, that's the only reason we're doing this.
It's so good, man. It's so good. I look forward to every time on Spotify I see the little blue dot next to Forge Podcast.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, here we go. I love them, and you're not giving yourself the credit that's due. You are able to dig out of a lot of people stuff that wouldn't come out, and that's where like the gold is found. Because so many people have just opened up in great ways and been transparent and been honest, and that's like, there's so much good to come from that. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, glad to have you on, man.
Absolutely.
I had a few. I was telling my daughters today, like we were going through, how you had come up with one title, like from profanity to what?
From profanity to prayer.
To prayer. I'm like,
Yeah.
and the girls are like, "Well, I don't get it, Dad." I'm like, "Well, Robert kind of titles them like from the sin to the restoration, and he finds a way to title it that way."
So he titles them? I thought you were titling them.
No,
Because I was like, because I appreciate
you want to take back that compliment now? You're
Well,
like,
no,
"Oh,
of
I
course.
thought
No,
you-
Robert.
oh."
I'm a big fan of alliteration.
Right.
So,
So, Forge Podcast. What brings you to Forge? What brought you to Forge?
so I started attending Forge fall of 2023, and it was kind of a few years of being convicted of I should join a men's group, I should get involved, because it was we came to church on Sundays, and that was that. We did our stuff. I had my time with the Lord. In high school, I made a really good community of guys it was through Young Life, so a lot of faith-based stuff. But that kind of trickled off, getting into adulthood and then parenthood and everything. So after, tons and tons of time seeing about it, me and a buddy, John, were like, okay, let's go together. And we went and sat down at a table. And when it was all done, we looked at each other and we're like, we are never going back again. What the heck was that?
What was it? What was the thing inside of you saying, "I need to get in a community"? Was it what you missed from your Young Life days?
There was some of that, but also like a need to mature. I had a distinct need to mature.
In your faith?
Yes.
What can you point a time out that you're like, was there or an area or you felt deficient in a certain certain part of being a husband or a father or just even a spiritual leader, or you just
Well, I mean, so there's that. Like, I wasn't even familiar with the role of a spiritual leader until the Forge.
okay?
From that, I mean, it's been just this great catalyst.
Yeah.
I had, I got to see Mike Terlizzi talk, which, when he gives something, he is infectious.
Yeah.
Learning about full surrender, like actually giving it all to the Lord. Like, those were foreign concepts to me. I didn't get it. Even though I'd been a Christian for over a decade before, right? And just beauty came from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that first time I was like, nope, not me, not again. But I came back the next night.
Explain that. First time, what?
At the
First time at Forge?
First time at
What were you
Forge.
saying? No, not again. What were you saying that to?
It was just a lot the first time. We kind of got put at a table where it's kind of a bunch of randos, and it was okay, go around and tell us about yourself, and it was pretty surface level stuff. And then like we turn the corner and gets to one guy, and he just starts going deep, and we're like, and he's talking about things that I'm like, I can't even fathom what you are talking about right now, sir. I thought this was more of a social club kind of a thing. And yeah, I was like, well, that was nuts, but we're going to give it another shot. And I went 2 or 3 more times and then got plugged into Damien's table, and there it like really clicked.
So I'm missing something. Before you went to Forge, there was something in you that said, I want community back, or you said, I want growth.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know it was going to look like vulnerability and being transparent.
Correct.
And you're like, nope, not that. I thought it was going to be something else.
Right.
Okay. It just clicked for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I almost equate it to like a Young Life, where it's like, hey, we're all here, we're trying to figure it out, we're good people, we love Christ.
Right.
But like Young Life in high school is way different than when you're dealing with guys who have been married for 20 plus years, have kids, have divorces, have the sins, the strongholds,
drugs, lust, pornography, you name it, man.
All the things.
Anger.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
infidelity. Yeah. All of it.
It's all there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So after, walk me through after times 2 and 3, like what solidified it for you? Like what?
I think, the first few times it was feeling out where, I was going to end up as a table. Like the table we were at was kind of a high rotation table, if you will. And then the third or fourth time was when, hey, we're moving you guys over here. So landed with Damien, and it was like, here's a cool guy, we like the guys at the table, and it was like, hey, we're committed to this. So just kept coming and growing from it, and just blessed to get to know the guys at the table and them to get to know me, seeing that I could be transparent and honest and open. Once I was able to open up those doors.
How long do you think it took you to sit down at Damien's table? Not the first 2 or 3 weeks, but once you sat down and you kind of felt like, okay, how long do you think it really took you to open up, feel vulnerable, or feel trustworthy enough to be able to open up with those guys and to really dive into the meat and potatoes of that community?
I'd say it was probably about 5 weeks in.
Okay.
It was about 5 weeks in, and it was from everyone else being open and transparent and honest and everything.
So you're feeling it out for 5 weeks, and you're like, okay, a little bit more. Okay, I remember this guy talked last week, and then okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's funny because if you go back to like Damien's podcast, so he has that 2-parter, and you were asking him about like the table or something, how's it going with the guys? And there's this one little part where he's talking, and he's like, well, we had this one guy, and when he first showed up, he was so foul-mouthed and profanity laden, and I remember sitting there going, this guy's not gonna make it. Nope, like this guy's not gonna last.
That was you.
It was me. It was me.
It was you the whole time.
It was me. And I can almost distinctly remember, a number of examples
That's
of
funny.
that.
I was sitting right here, and I remember him. I remember that comment, and I remember your imagination just fills in the blank. I'm like, I wonder who that guy was.
It was,
Like, I remember thinking about who you were.
If he was like, yeah, it was this fat, really good looking guy, I'd be like, oh, all right, we know which one it is. We know, we know who it
You've
is.
lost a ton of weight.
I have.
You
I
have.
have actually. Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, since mid-August, I'm down about 45 to 50 pounds.
Hey, look at, well, you knew you were doing the podcast. You're like, hey,
Yeah,
this
I
is
gotta,
not
dude,
just
I gotta get skinny to
this is
record my
not just
voice.
an audio podcast, man. This is straight up video.
I don't want to. I don't want to be out of breath. Sorry.
Well, that's why I walk up the stairs slow. I'm like, because I don't want to start sweating when I'm sitting here with the lights on and everything. I'm like, I'll just nice and slow.
My lord, these lights are atrocious.
And then, let's see. So then walk me. You build community. What's your wife seeing at home? What changes? What difference is she seeing at home with you? What are you seeing that Forge is kind of having an impact on?
I would say she's seeing me pray more.
Yeah.
She's seeing kind of some heart transformation
And
go
is that
on.
coming from your table saying, guys, we need to pray with our wives more, or we need to go home and live this out? Is that challenge coming from Damien?
Yeah, that was a reoccurring message. Damien, I could go on for hours about him, but he was very challenging of saying like, hey guys, I didn't do this before, and you guys need to be doing this with your wives. And I took that to heart.
Right.
You know, he didn't use the term like regrets or anything, but he admitted where he could have been stepping up more in that role. And, you know, yeah, that's something I took to heart.
So you're praying more. When's the first time you notice your wife noticing?
That's a good question.
Was it because then you guys joined Knowing Freedom, as you call it, from marriage. Knowing Freedom for Marriage, right?
For
Taught
marriage.
by Kelly and Steve Heller. Was it, then you joined that, working on marriage. Was it in there that she noticed it? Was it after the men's retreat that something changed, or what? When do you remember?
I would say, so I guess like chronologically, I start the Forge fall of 2023. My wife and I go to do re-engage fall of 2024. And that was at the behest of one of the guys at my table who was like, Chubbs, you got to do this. It's going to be great for you guys. We love you. Do it. And he made sure we got the Hellers. Yeah. And we go through re-engage, which was, you know, transformational for us. And we were asked to actually start leading immediately, like in spring. And we're like, hey, let's slow down the brakes. Let us get a few more tools, you know. We're still working through some stuff over here. You know, we might not be ready to help others. So that's when we did Knowing Freedom for Marriage. And then that was also the season when the men's retreat happened.
Right.
You know, when I just finally publicly declared, you know, my devotion, my surrender to Christ as my Lord.
Well, that was such a cool moment for me. I don't know if it was for you, but up at the men's retreat, we were helping out the Hellers in the Knowing Freedom for Marriage class, and had gotten to know you a bit, and then seen you in Forge every Tuesday. But the night Carl had everybody stand up, it's like dedicate. Hey, are there guys out there that need to give their life to Christ? And guys were standing up. And we're like, oh, this is awesome. And he's like, I think there's a few more people anyway. So a lot of guys are standing up, giving their lives to Christ. And man, how awesome was that in a room of 400 guys? There must have been 40, 50 guys, I think. And then I just turn around in my row and I look back and I see you maybe 4 bodies away from me. And just this proud moment. I'm like, I was like, yeah, my man. That's what I said. I said, my man. And I was just so happy for you.
Oh.
And I noticed, for as little of interaction as we have had, I have noticed even a change in you since that weekend. There has been a countenance change. There has been just a joy in your face. You've always been fun and jovial, and but something changed after that weekend, and in my limited interaction with you at Forge and Knowing Freedom, and that's it. But I could see it.
I mean, I think it was just the full surrender. Hey, all these burdens, all these strongholds, all these sins, all these things I've been, you know, weighing myself down with, it's not mine anymore. It's God's. You know, we're gonna work through this together. And it freed my heart, you know. Steve loves to talk about heart posture, and it's like it got it aligned to where it needed to be. And I mean, Jamie really started noticing a difference when I came back down from the hill. And then it's just been rapid growth, since then. We finished doing the Knowing Freedom for marriage. We started volunteering. I got accepted as a member of the church. So that way I could start legally leading at the Forge. Cause kind of like springtime, right. Damien's like, hey, you're filling in, you're coming up the ranks. So started leading at the Forge. We were there for the Re-Engage Open. This was the first summer we tried it, and at least one of us was there every weekend for it, giving back. And then I got baptized in July, which was awesome. And it was just so cool to have Steve do it.
Yep.
I feel bad though. I think his back is still out of shape from like having to dunk me down.
Bro, I try to, even when I hug him, like before Ford, he's like, "Oh, careful."
Like Kelly will sometimes just like text me pictures of like the bills from the joint chiropractic, and I'm like, ugh, I can't get that covered under my HSA.
Yeah. Joe hugged him last Tuesday, so maybe
he's prolonging this.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It is something about, you've got that bond and connection with Steve going, because one thing about Steve is you're going to get to the heart of it real quick.
Right.
He's not interested in surface level stuff. He wants to go right after it, and he's so good at picking like our behaviors and our behavior modifications and then kind of honing in. His nickname is Root Hunter. He wants to go right at it. Mm-hmm. And so then to have that bond formed with him and then have him be there with the baptism, what a cool...
It's so awesome.
Yeah. I say that nothing will bond you closer with another man than a spiritual interaction with the Lord. And whether that's doing spiritual warfare, praying with guys, deep in prayer, walking along, long suffering with another guy, whatever it is, going through life bonded with Jesus, nothing will bond you closer than that. That brought us. Did you just bring us up to speed with your timeline?
Just about. Yeah. We did. We let it Re-Engage Open, and now we're in Re-Engage Closed. My wife and I leading a table there. And it's really awesome because a number of the couples that we spent a lot of time with in Open, we got as our current table. So there was some familiarity, some bond there. And then a couple of the guys are actually in my Forge group. So bless their hearts, they're getting double doses of Chubbs a week, which
that's
depending on your diet, you might not be able to sustain such a,
I think that's the magic. You're walking more in step with these guys, and how do you it quickens the pace of the relationship. It's like we always say, going on the men's retreat, it'll take a relationship that might take 6 weeks at Forge to build, or 6 months, and you can solidify it in a long weekend. So I think it's great. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and I love my guys. Damien was basically out of country for the first month or so of Forge opening. Yeah. So there's guys from our table, kind of our standard guys, but I just kind of opened it up, and I was like, hey, who wants to come? Who wants to be a part of this? Kind of trying to lead like Steve and Damien do, just being transparent, just loving on guys wherever they're at, engaging them. We got up to like 16, 18 guys. And up until 2 weeks ago, we've decided like, hey, we have our group, but we need 2 tables. Right. Just because it was getting so much to manage. Right. So many bodies in the grinder, if you will. So
expand on that. I don't expand on that, because I agree with you 100%, but I want other people to hear like what the reward is of being a table leader. How have you benefited from it outside of, you grew up on your table, you came and you started to be vulnerable 6-7 weeks in, and then you're now leading. The Lord transformed your heart, and you're like, okay, man, let's go. How have you benefited? And what is that reward?
That reward is just raw, real community. No facades, no fakeness. You're literally walking with a brother in Christ. One of my good examples is Cameron, who I met up at the men's retreat, he and I did the prayer walk together. We connected. He was expecting his first at the time, younger guy. We're both extremely good looking, so there was just some familiarity right there. And, you know, when I publicly dedicated myself to Christ, he did as well together. And it wasn't a coordinated thing. Cool. You know, when that altar call came around and we're both still sitting there, he goes, you know, and Carl called it out. He's like, who just let pride get in the way? And it's like, yep, I'm right here, convicted, sir. And
row 7.
Yep. Seats B and C. That's us right here. And we got up and we almost did the Spider-Man meme of like pointing at each other, like, wait, you. And we did it together. And, you know, I've gotten to come alongside this guy and see him grow in his role as spiritual leader, see him grow as a husband, and see him grow as a father. I mean, his kids, when was JJ born? He was born in May, I think, May or June, so a few months old. And just watching how the Lord's transforming his heart, you know, he's had to go back to reality since we came down that mountain. He still has to go to work. He still has to deal with customers, coworkers, stuff like that. And just watching how he's letting the Lord change his heart posture, where, you know, before he would want to get into fights about politics or procedures or something. And he's like, man, I turn the other cheek and I just pray for the best for them. And it's like, how good is that?
Right.
And just for me to be that little blip of, I walked with a guy, you know, up in Williams, Arizona, and now look at what he's doing for his family, for his, you know, his realm. So
I want to go back to something you said earlier. There were 2 words you'd never even heard about. You accepted Jesus when you were young life, but you're like, I never even really heard of surrender and what was the other one? It was surrender and not heart posture. It was surrender. Surrender, I think, encapsulates both things you said. It was just not a factor in your walk with the Lord. I'll expand that, because I think a lot of us struggle with it. We don't understand what it means. It's like, it's where I think the idea of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, lukewarm Christian comes from. It's because, Lord, I have you here, but all this other stuff I've got to go do because I'm a human and I've got to strive and I've got to effort
produce
myself,
and I've got to
worry about my wife's emotions and my kids. And it's like,
and I've got a 401k out there.
God is over here, and all of this stays here.
That, I mean, to get to that, it's the stronghold of control. We want to believe that we're still in control of every single thing because we made ourselves the God of our lives. And I struggled with control in so many different aspects of it, from micromanaging, you know, the shopping list and where we were going to get groceries from. And in the inverse, though, not even able to control like food consumption on myself, where I was just gluttonous, overeating, you know, calorie dumping, you know, for years to get to such an unhealthy state. And when you realize, hey, you can surrender all of this to God, you are not in control, and the one who is greater and better than you will ever fathom. There is just sweet bliss in that. There's peace in that, which if you're holding on to control, you're not going to have.
Where did you hear surrender for the first time?
At the Forge.
Okay.
At the Forge. And it was like,
oh, it had to have been, I mean, Mike Terlizzi.
Right? No, exactly. Right. It was him. Bill Cavanis would talk about it, like, just such great teaching.
And so you're hearing that and you're like, are you asking yourself, have I ever done this? Or did you already know you've never?
I knew I hadn't. I knew I hadn't, and I knew I didn't want to.
Right.
And I don't want to say I knew I couldn't.
No, but that's a real thought.
That's a real thought.
Thought. Like, how is it? Who else is going to do this?
Who
else is going to manage the grocery list?
Who's going to get the diapers for my kid? Who's going to ensure we're paying the mortgage on time? Who's, you know, all the things.
Right.
And it's like, God is, you dummy, you know. He's gonna abundantly bless you. He calls you to be a good steward, of course, right? And not flippant with the grace and mercy and forgiveness. Because, I mean, once you can almost release the secular world of control over to him, everything follows. I get so much undeserved grace and mercy. And then with undeserved is also unearned. Like, God sacrificed his son Christ for me on a cross to free me from all the things that I would just let myself be slave to. And it's just like, I don't have the words right now to explain it. But it changes you once you understand that. And
well, it goes along peace that surpasses all understanding. It's like we don't have the words. We don't have the understanding to explain this peace. We don't have the words to explain what happened,
but you know when you have it.
You lived it and you're living it and you know it and you've seen it and it's been evidenced in your life. You're like,
and the peace, yeah, it's there and it's there. And then with that too, since it's not ours, like he's giving it to us, but we can't hold on to that. We need to be extending that to others.
Yeah.
We need to be showing everybody grace, everybody mercy. Kelly always points out, like, do you want God to judge you how you judge other people? Yeah, and it's like, oof, that's condemning.
yeah,
So I use the term, you like to be a catalyst or a vessel to work through. Like, hey, everything that's coming from him is going to go through me into others, and I'll by osmosis and absorption, I'm going to get some of it, but like, it's not for me. 'Cause again, I don't deserve it.
right.
You tell me that Christ was on a cross and suffered the way he did for me. Like, how good?
Yeah.
How good is that? And then I can even look at all the tangibles of that. Like my wife, like by no means would I have her without God.
Right.
Some of that goes a little bit into premonition, if you will. But like she is the most evident act of God's grace and love for me. And it's beautiful,
How did you approach control over eating? Something my brother, because he came up to the men's retreat with us. He lives in California. I'm like, hey, Mike, why don't you come join me in the men's retreat? He was convicted when Carl's like, hey, a lot of you guys need to give up food too. Now, do you remember hearing him say that? And my brother's like, he was convicted. Like, it's like, because he just loves to eat too. I do too. Like, I'm the same way. Like, how did you approach with control once you recognize that? How did you approach that with food? Was that just well, I'll let you finish.
Well, that actually came, the food I didn't let go of after the men's retreat. I was still just eating, Cheez-Its by the handful.
So what did you take away when Carl said that? Were you like, you know what, I'll deal with that later?
I was like, well, I know I need to deal with it. I know I've needed to deal with it for years. The sad fact is, like, I was 250 pounds as a freshman in high school. Got down to 140 going into sophomore year.
Oh, wow. That's a big transformation.
Yeah, 80 pounds came off in 3 months. So basically I was like fatty at freshman, stick as a sophomore. Everyone at school was like, we heard you chewed Big Red gum and did cocaine. And I'm like, I don't like Big Red gum. Wait. I mean, I went to Scottsdale. Forge podcast, ladies and gentlemen. So I lost all that weight, kept it off for a good amount of years.
I don't like Big Red gum.
I don't like Big Red gum. Take away one thing, Chubbs doesn't like it. Kept the weight off for years. Actually started doing boxing, mixed martial arts, weightlifting, all of that. And then, bless my wife, when she met me, I was 185 pounds of, ribeye muscle. And then I just started gaining all the weight back after we got married and got a house together and all the things. But I never stopped working out. Like, I've always still been hitting the weights, but it doesn't matter if you're overeating and you're being gluttonous with your food. Like, you can't barbell curl your way to a healthy weight. Right. Like, it's not going to happen, or to a calorie deficit. So food and gluttony has been something I've struggled with for a while. What really changed, though, and since mid-August when all this weight started coming off, is I started fasting, and just the ultimate act of surrender, if you will, of like, hey, God, I don't need to eat for the next 48 hours because you've got me. And I would do a 48-hour fast a week, and then take a day off, and then do another 24-hour fast, and just surrendering that to the Lord, and just being cognizant of what I'm consuming, when I'm consuming.
What triggered that?
That that was actually an extremely hard moment. So this would have been 10, 12 weeks ago. My wife and I were in the process of being intimate when she kind of broke down and basically hit me with the I'm only doing this out of obligation. This does nothing for me, and I just started getting wrecked, of course, because there's nothing harder to hear as a man. And at one point, it was like, well, the process is going to continue, and I went to go to kiss her, and she actually pulled away from the kiss, and that is what just devastated me. That killed me. Needless to say, I didn't go to sleep that night, and at 2:15 I was in the gym just going after cardio, praying with the Lord, surrendering it all to him. How do I do this? What do I need to fix? What do I need to change? And control kind of crept right back in. Satan was right there with that tool, hey dude, here's what you're going to do. You're going to love your wife so much. You're going to give her all of the love languages, but you're not going to speak them. You're going to yell them. And in a way it was oh, you want quality time? All right, we're all going out for family dinner now, Chili's, well, let's go. You want words of affirmation? I will not stop talking about how thankful I am that you did the dishes and stuff like that. And my heart started just stoning. I could feel it going there. And it was and from knowing freedom, Lord, keep my heart flesh. Don't let my tongue get corrupted from this, and just giving it all to him. And he worked his magic. He cured my heart. He fixed it. He turned it around. I mean, to be honest, this was right about the time that re-engage close was going to happen. And I get hit with this. I'm I don't think I'm in a place to
Steve, listen.
Listen. Well, it was funny because he and I met at the Forge leadership rally, and he's hey man, you're going to be targeted by the enemy, so I'm going to pray for protection, a hedge of protection. And as this is all going down, I'm Steve, you needed to pray for a bigger hedge, maybe
more protection, bigger hedge.
Was it oleanders? Was it hopseed? Bamboo? What hedge are we talking about? We need more here. Because I was attacked. And when I recognized that, it was the enemy wants to stop me from being involved in the marriage ministry and having a great marriage and helping others and blessing others the way Jamie and I were blessed over the past year of everything we went through. So we bound him up. I bound him up in the name of the blood of Christ, and I just cast that out of there. And he's tried to come back several times, but every time it's nope, no entrance here. Take every thought captive. So
how healing though was that for? I know initially that is hard to hear, and it's hard. Had to have been tough for her to say as well. But I mean, bringing that stuff out to the light, the freest guys in Forge are the guys that come back and say they just dumped all their sins on their wife, right? It's oh, I've been carrying that for 10 years. It's oh, I'm free while the wife is still having to deal with that. And you got to walk through that together. But how has that, how have you guys grown since then? Because
I did that to her at Reengage. The first week, which is kind of just an easy layup week, where you're yeah, let's talk about love. What did we learn from the movies? That kind of stuff. And week one, I was being convicted for a while on it, and Jamie's, we're going through the things, and she goes, right here it says keeping things from each other. I feel like we don't do that. And I was I've been watching porn for years, and just wrecked her, devastated her, because it's virtual adultery. I was literally cheating on my wife. And we had to work through that. Yeah. And we did. That was last year, and then the recent thing was, of course, more recent this year. Yeah. But we've just had great healing from it, great growth.
If it doesn't come out, you can't heal.
Correct. And we're at a place that I've found myself because I've just all the growth from forge, re-engage, baptism, surrender on the mountain, heart posture, understanding, being selfless, sacrificial love, all of that. It got me to where I am now. And it's like, I'm trying to think of the verse, or it's the Martha, you're worrying about so many things, but look at Mary. She has found what is important and will not be taken from her. And that's where I'm at. It's like the peace that I have in my marriage. And then the simple fact that we're so blessed to be coming alongside other couples too. It's like, I have found what is good and it will not be taken from me.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh yeah.
Dude, thanks for sharing that. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Forge Podcast.